So I saw the new James Gunn Superman, so here are my spoiler-free thoughts. I saw this movie last night in 4DX, and I had a great time. Definitely a very active 4DX experience. The chairs were, of course, flying with Superman. We get a lot of wind in our face and all of that kind of stuff, so I loved it. As for the film itself, I definitely had a great time. I am a superhero girly through and through. Superman was probably one of the bigger characters that I have the least familiarity with. Of course, I know the basics of his story. I have obviously watched and enjoyed the later iterations of the character. I'm someone who didn't grow up watching those Christopher Reeve Superman films, and I have been watching the sequels for the very first time. If you want to check out my reviews, they're up on my page now. I grew up more with Batman and loving the animated series, those early Batman films, and all of that. So I always ended up kind of just leaning more towards that character. So all that to say, the things that I liked and didn't like might not line up with what the actual kind of purpose behind these characters and moments were meant to be. So disclaimer, I guess, on that. For me, I feel like David Corenswet felt like the most human Superman. While I will flat out say Christopher Reeve is the best Superman Clark Kent, since this film was trying to put across this message that Superman, even being an immigrant, because yes, he is an immigrant, he is still a human who feels and has compassion and cares, despite being this all-powerful entity. Christopher Reeve's Superman was very put together and always knew the right thing to say, very commercialized and performative, even if it was still coming from a genuine place. His Superman is a little bit messy, which I loved because it did reinforce the point of this film that Superman is human in the most existential meaning of that word, not the biological meaning. Kind of watching those Reeve Superman films for the first time, particularly that first 78 film, I absolutely loved the buzz and energy of the Daily Planet. Whooshing around of all these characters to get a story out, to get something done, constant movement and the frenetic nature of those scenes and moments were so fun for me. And I have to say, no film, including this new James Gunn Superman film, has really taken the opportunity to engage in that. I thought the Daily Planet was going to be a bigger aspect of the story, and we do get a really fun scene where we see the team kind of working together in tandem with chaos kind of happening to get a story out, which I loved. But I needed more of that. Outside of Jimmy and Lois, we don't really get much more time with the characters at the Daily Planet, especially Perry, who I would have loved to have more scenes with. Especially since this is a Superman story that is not, taking the time out to give the origin that we've seen over and over again. We are jumping right into the action. We are jumping right into what Superman is dealing with right in this moment. So there could have been time, I think, given to fleshing out the Daily Planet and those characters more than just kind of one scene. I was also a little bummed to not get a ton of David Corenswet getting to play into the silliness of Clark Kent and that whole facade. Because of where he's at in the story, he doesn't really need to play into that as much, so we don't get a ton of that. We don't even really get a ton of him at the Daily Planet. So, yeah, that was a bit of a bummer. I loved Nicholas Holt's version of Lex Luthor. He was 10 steps ahead, so we got to see his incredible intelligence. He was ruthless. And he was a little bit petulant, which I think is, I don't know if that's like a traditional key of the character, but I think it works. In terms of the little I know about his relationship with his father, Lionel Luthor, and, how his father treated him and all of that kind of thing. I would think that little bit of petulant, childlike, kind of tantrum energy would really be a core part of that character, despite how smart and studied and intense he is. His hate of Superman comes from this really jealous place. I enjoyed our side heroes as well with Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, and Hawk Girl. Always feel like I have to enunciate Hawk Girl. But I really loved Eddie Gathegi in this film. Justice for Darwin, 100%. This is a character I was not familiar with at all, but I loved getting to see his power set, loved his energy, and I loved the moments that he gets in the film. I really loved Rachel Brosnahan's Lois. She's tough, she's competent, really good at her job, focused. I will say, while I loved Margot Kidder's Lois Lane and how kind of swoony she got around Superman, I liked that this version wasn't really as swoony. It's actually a little bit scared and vulnerable, which I liked seeing out of this really tough character. I did watch this movie with a really annoying person sitting next to me who was just scoffing at everything and just like holding their hand up like, what? Like, really kind of critical of the decisions that the movie was making. Then through the whole end credits, he was just complaining the whole time, talking about how outside of the first Guardians movie, everything James Gunn has made is trash, which is just a wild opinion. And then he's even staying through the end credits just to bitch about, oh, this end credit scene is probably not even gonna be worth it. Then why are you there? Just go. And then of course, after the end credits, yeah, that was mid. And then he's left his trash, which, if you know me, I hate when people leave their trash in the theater. And all it was a cup. Just take your cup. So yes, I had a very kind of obnoxious experience sitting next to this guy who was just kind of complaining about everything and not really giving a reason to his friend. Just saying everything was trash. And yeah, so that was fun. But I enjoyed the film. I took a lot from it. I will say the tones didn't quite gel as well as his other films. Like, I think he is really great at a mix of heart and comedy. But here, it wasn't as fluid as I'm used to seeing from James Gunn. Wasn't jarring or anything like that, but it just wasn't as smooth as I'm used to seeing from him. I did laugh. I did get emotional. It definitely made me want to see more from this DCU that he's building and these characters specifically. So have you seen Superman yet? If so, let me know your thoughts.